What's going on? I hope you're doing well. When you're seeing this, I'm coming off the heels of two very stressful work days, and I can't think of anything better to talk about than stress right now. It's something that affects all of us on a pretty deep level, and I want us to consider how much stress we impart on our own lives. What are the decisions that we make? What are the relationships that we hold? What are the things that are going on that add stress to our lives, and is it really worth it? Because at the end of the day, I personally do not thrive on stress at all. I don't think anybody does, truthfully speaking. I mean, maybe Navy SEALs or something like that. You've got to be a special breed of person to thrive on stress, and even then, I don't think it's good for you. But what this brought to mind, these last 2 days of work, just being very trying for me. I mean, there were days where I was halfway through the day and I didn't want to do it anymore. I just didn't want to have to keep doing what I was doing. And that wasn't an option. So what it reminded me of a time in my life where I was really struggling with some other matters related to family members. Funny enough, I've got a glass of Henry McKenna here. 10-year bottled in bond. This is kind of an old staple go-to since about 2016, 2017 for me. So let me have a sip of this real quick. Oh, that's nice. Sitting down and having a pour like this is a good way for me to personally de-stress. It gives me something to focus on, kind of occupies my mind and my senses, and that's a good thing. But what these stressful events have been reminding me of is a time in my life to where I wasn't even drinking. I've enjoyed having sips of bourbon here and there since the mid 2000s. So, I mean, 20 years, close to, over 20 years now. But there's a period of time in my life in the mid-teens where I just stopped drinking altogether, because to me, this is for the good times, not for the bad times. This is when I want to just have that moment to slow down and enjoy and appreciate something. It gives me something to kind of meditate on, as it were. But there was a time in my life where I stopped drinking completely because I was being so negatively impacted by other people in my life who were drinking, and they were drinking to excess, and they were drinking, I mean, it was in ways of abusing alcohol. And I had a really difficult time I really struggled with that and had a difficult time dealing with that on a day-to-day basis in a close personal relationship, when I also grew up around that type of behavior by some of the adults in my life, and I saw how reckless and destructive it could be. And then there it was up close and personal in adulthood for me, in some relationships as well. And that was really hard for me to deal with. So I started going to Al-Anon, which is a sister organization to Alcoholics Anonymous. And it is for people who are affected by other people's drinking or drug use. And what that class, that group, whatever you would want to call it, a group, it's like a support group situation. And their entire ethos was the Serenity prayer. And it doesn't matter if you're a praying person or not. I happen to be, but whether you're a person of prayer or a person of faith, it doesn't matter. It is, grant me the serenity how's it? Now I'm blanking on it. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I almost mixed it up. But yes, the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. In stressful situations in your life, there are things that you're just going to have to accept. And that is not my baseline response. My baseline response to stress in my life is, how can I bend this situation to my will to make it work out the way it needs to work out for the best results? And let me tell you something. You go toe-to-toe with life, you're going to lose a lot of times if you're trying to get into that battle. So accepting the things that I can't change in any and every circumstance is always a good reminder. And one, frankly, in the last couple days, I've lost track of a little bit. I've kind of forgotten that. This is, as much a reminder to me as it is to anyone out there. But just accepting the things you can't change. And then the courage to change the things you can. Sometimes that means doing something that's hard, or making a tough decision, or it could be any number of things. It could apply to any number of circumstances. The courage, oftentimes you don't need courage unless there's something difficult ahead of you. So expect that whatever you do need to do might be difficult, and that isn't imposing your will or your thoughts or ideas on a situation and trying to make things work out the way you want them to. Sometimes it could be not doing anything at all when you want to spring into action. It could be biting your tongue when you really want to say something. It could be saying something when you really don't want to. It could be having a conversation with a family member or a friend or a loved one that you need to have, and you really want to avoid it. You might need to find the courage to do the thing you need to do, and then the wisdom to know the difference. And that's really what this all comes down to. But I think what this prayer, or mantra, if you're not the praying type, what this prayer can offer you, if you make it a part of your daily life, is that it can put things in perspective. When things are stressful, when things feel out of control, when things feel like you don't really know what to do, this Serenity prayer can be such a game changer. It's not a cliche thing that people just say. I promise you, from personal experience, implementation of this mantra in your head throughout the day, just try to say it a time or two, or just try to go into the day with the ideas of that perspective, because we all face challenges, maybe not every day, but we all face challenges fairly often. And if you're not facing one right now, you can guarantee one's right around the corner. So whether that's a bad day at work, a tough situation with family members, friends, or loved ones, it could be anything. A job deadline, something that's hanging over your head that's just stressing you out to no end. I just want to encourage you to try to put stress in perspective and not let it lead your life, not let it ruin your day, and definitely do your very best to not take out that stress in a subconscious way. Don't suppress it and then let it come out sideways, at a spouse or a child. That's oftentimes where it does come out for a lot of people. They just suppress it, have a bad day at work, come home and just find something to go off on their wife or their kids about. I grew up around that. Like, it's not good. It's not good to be the person that's not dealing with this sort of stuff. So I want to encourage you to face it head on, but keep it in perspective, because there are healthy ways of dealing with this. You're not going to ever get away from it fully, but the Serenity Prayer, I think, is an incredible tool to help manage it. So hopefully you found this useful. Hopefully it helped you out. Maybe you're in a stressful situation and it can be of some encouragement to you. So we'll be back next week with whatever else is going on. And see you then. Cheers. Have a good one.